Welcome back to the Insiders Podcast. Matt here tonight with a little special guest for you. So, apologies, you're not going to hear Darren's wonderful tones on this podcast, as I had to pull this out last minute and had an opportunity to chat with a special guest when Darren was busy running the world's best surf camp and pure surf cafe. But tonight I speak with a individual who I've looked up to for a long time, someone who's been in the action sports game for a while, but a bit behind the scenes, and he's done some major things that you're probably aware of and not sure that he's behind. My guest tonight is Oli. Oli is a very, very intelligent guy. He is a marketing and brand building genius. He is also behind Liquid Death's success along with their team. He didn't do it all, but Oli Russel-Cowan is his full name, and we chat about the industry, about his history, about surfing, what boards he uses, and a bit more. Super interesting for me. I hope you find it interesting, and here's our chat. How you been?
Big. Yeah, good man. Yeah, it's been everything's been pretty busy, but apart from that, yeah, been all right.
Yeah. So we'll probably chat a little bit about why you've been busy. But just so people can kind of catch up. Do you want to tell people who you are and what you do a little bit?
Sure, yeah. So I'm gone blurry.
Yeah,
Um
I can still hear you fine. You're
Sorry
back.
about that, dude.
It's all
Okay.
good.
Um yeah, so a little bit of background. I I guess kind of going back, I started an events and action sports festivals platform called Rad Season.
Yeah,
And that kind of led into a whole bunch of different things. Most recently, I was working with a drinks brand called Liquid Death,
yeah,
which was a canned water brand out of the US, which yeah, kind of helped launch them in the UK and internationally. And yeah, I've started co-founded a global branding agency with a friend and ex-colleague that we
yeah.
were working together at Liquid Death with.
Uncharted territory.
And that's it.
Yeah, seen it. Big fan, following for a while. So I was really excited when you messaged because I work in the surf slash water sports industry now, and brand and marketing management and brand management and kind of strategies and all of that encompasses what I do day to day, but also what I love. And I see things. And prior to your message, Liquid Death, I could say I'd used multiple times in when I've sat in meetings with people who are trying to tell me, oh, it needs to make sense or it needs to fit this and fit that. And then I'm sat there with a case sample of Liquid Death where it's water in a can, it's called Liquid Death. It essentially looks like people are walking down the road with a can of Stella, or a beer or an energy drink.
Yeah.
But the actual basis of the company was sort of really sustainable, from what I can
Mhm.
understand, and kind of eco-driven, but also like I think personally probably one of the reasons why as a brand worldwide it had the success it did was because it just done everything outside of the lines.
I'd say so. I mean, it was kind of so the founder, Mike Cesario, he was sort of he was looking to do something, take essentially a product commodity that every single person in the world like consumes, which is water. And historically, it's been quite boring.
Yeah,
All the marketing, all the advertising, and the brands that were having the most fun were products that were pretty bad for you. So alcohol, sweets brands, junk food, all that kind of stuff. And he thought, there's something that could be done here to sort of flip it on its head and
yeah,
make entertainment rather than marketing. And that kind of then led to this idea of like whenever Liquid Death produced a bit of content, the main driver was like how could it cut through the noise and go viral and just it wasn't looking at any kind of competitors. It was just like how could they compete on the internet and do something that was pretty interesting that people would be like, they'd be gagging to see what else, like what's something crazier that they can do next.
Yeah.
That is still sort of, yeah, would
It
be
in that,
considered as part of the brand.
yeah. And in that, was there like for me it screams that it's almost part of like everybody was part of the same kind of vision. Like you didn't really have room for someone to second guess and be like, oh, but maybe we shouldn't do that. Was there people in there that were like, or was there ever times where you were like, okay, like everyone's on board for this crazy idea, but you got one or two people thinking, oh no, like maybe we shouldn't do it?
Sometimes it had to get, yeah, depending on what it was, it'd have to go up through legal. And
Yeah,
you've kind of got to run these ideas past people like that are gonna be checking that it's all okay to go out. But the people and the content and creative team out in the US are geniuses. I mean, they were getting like comedians, script writers involved. Everything was done in-house,
yeah,
and that's kind of what makes it interesting. I mean, the people that we were working with, it was all on brand. It wasn't sort of any like kind of
yeah,
outside. I mean, they did have like bits of, so outside help and outside agencies, but as a whole, it was people that got it. So people that were working there, it's sort of that whole sort of rebellious, disruptive nature of the brand kind of ties into everyone that just a bunch of misfits that were working there essentially. So, it's kind of everyone sort of got it, and it was like on my team. So I was heading up lifestyle marketing, and the people that were doing that in the US that were on the same team as me, I mean, they were like touring musicians. We had one of the biggest skateboarders in the world, one of the best snowboarders. So like these people are kind of like heavily sort of like in within their scenes, like they
yeah,
had certain like they were kind of they had a voice within their community, so to speak. And it was, yeah, driven from that kind of that action sports lifestyle, music and comedy was that overriding, like the humor was like the overriding element to all of it.
yeah. I'm right in saying that Steve-O was part of it as well.
So yeah, he was kind of, so they had a number of people that were ambassadors slash investors.
Right, yeah.
So yeah, like Tony Hawk, Steve-O, Metallica, Eminem, Wiz Khalifa. There's like quite a lot of musicians.
It's just it's just amazing that this is what the power of what the brand done is. Steve-O, Tony Hawk, Metallica, Eminem. So you're thinking, for example, you'd like Tony Hawk skateboarder, like pretty hardcore, Metallica, hardcore, Steve-O, nut job, pretty hardcore, Eminem, but they're on board promoting water. Like that, like when you boil it all down to what it was, is like they're ambassadors or ambassadors slash investors for water. And it's just like the funniest combination because when I think about other water brands, the only people I can really think of that have ever sort of been ambassadors is tennis players, like
Mhm.
Roger Federer or like
Murray and stuff, right?
yeah,
And
like and they're like very clean cut professional athletes that are like kind of in that in what people saw water to be before liquid death
yeah.
kind of came to fall with that, which is funny. So beforehand, obviously, because that's quite a big gig, and like beforehand, like doing your events and like and advertising and in that world, like you must have had experience working with some big hitters in the action sports world as well.
Yeah, I mean, like how I kind of started off. in all of this, I used to work for a company called Factory Media at the time, and they were the publishers of Surf Europe magazine and Surfer's Path.
Yeah.
And that was in London, kind of going back now quite a while. Sort of show my age is when and they had, and I was kind of looking after the skateboarding titles, so Cyborg magazine, Kingpin, in my early 20s, and that was how I kind of got into it all. And then it was sort of through that kind of main. So I was looking after advertising for those titles. So that was
Yeah.
kind of say, contacting like the Quicksilvers of the world and getting them to do double page spread ads, and it was that sort of thing. And yeah, I think that then led down to wanting to do something within action sports. I kind of left and went into sales. I emigrated over to Australia and had a bit of a freak out and thought, okay, I've got to earn some money. I'm going to emigrate with my girlfriend at the time, now wife, and this is when we were like 29. So I ended up sort of doing like a sales business development, like account management role for like an IT research company, like pretty different to kind of go into like I don't know, the trade shows like ASR in San Diego, and kind of like where it was just brands like at the time like Vulcan would just throw a massive fuck off party, and then they just have like a mini ramp across like a giant ramp in the trade show halls, and they wouldn't have any clothes on the rack. It would just be like people in Hawaiian shirts skating and having a big party and a bit of a piss up.
Yeah.
So kind of going from that world and then going into something a bit different. But yeah, the idea was to kind of just to figure out how I could surf more, and that's sort of generally been the theme since I was
Yeah.
about 17. So I went to uni in Swansea, with the sole purpose that it was like the closest uni to the coast, or one of them in the UK. And then, yeah, when I was in London, I was kind of, working for Surf Europe and Surfers Path. And the whole time I was just thinking, like, how am I going to get down to the coast, and just doing that weekend warrior
Yeah.
thing. Had mates like in Fistral and Newquay and stuff, and just kind of go down Friday night, come back on Sunday completely knackered,
Yeah.
kind of run around town, like surf all day or as much as you can, and then go out in the evenings and stuff. Um, and then that was the reason of like trying to move to Australia. So we ended up like living in Sydney for about 7 years.
Yeah.
And then that was where I then started my own company. And yeah, that kind of then led to all the liquid death stuff during COVID. So it's a bit of a long-winded story, but
No, it's not.
during
No, it's cool.
COVID,
Like
like all the events and festivals, everything kind of stopped.
yeah.
So I was like, okay, what am I going to do now? And that was when I started doing the Rad Season podcast, which
Yeah.
was then like essentially kind of chatting to people within different like board sports industries, and it was athletes as well as industry. And then
Yeah.
I early on I had the founder of Liquid Death on, and then a guy called Stix who was my boss. And yeah, Stix's role was like he was in charge of product design at Airwalk Shoes back in the day, and then he was the first sports marketing manager at Red Bull.
Right. Yeah.
For
Wow.
about, yeah, that was like I don't know, about he was there for a decade, and then that sort of led him to, he was like employee number 5 at Liquid Death.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of how that all happened.
That's that. Yeah. Sick. Because that's what one of the things I was going to say is like, obviously knowing your background and in events, and then hitting COVID. Obviously, that wasn't great for events at that point. So you definitely have to um kind of pivot on that. So with your days like working within the surf industry, like surfing Europe and Surfers Path and stuff, did you have any, obviously you was contacting the brands, did you get any access to, I've been fortunate in the last couple of years, I've been to the Quicksilver party at Jeremy Flores's festival, and it was pretty, like, all the athletes there are pretty sick, pretty wild and stuff. Did you have any experiences with things like that?
Uh, I mean, I wouldn't say. Like a little bit in terms of more so for the skate, like
Yeah,
over like doing those on the skate side. On the surf side, I did a few events on the Gold Coast for Surfing Queensland,
yeah,
and kind of like basically just helping on setup and stuff. And I was a student out there for a bit. And yeah, this is sort of like early 2000s, and that was pretty mental. Sort of seeing like they just go full send mode
yeah,
before before quarters and semis and stuff, and like like the night before, you're like, what are you doing?
yeah,
Yeah, so it's definitely different now, I think. But
yeah. I was going to say, do you think a big influence in that now? Obviously, there's the professionalism of it all, but the play of one, social media and the fact that everyone's got a camera, but two, the fact that these people are now heavily paid to be ambassadors of brands that they have to like live up to that as well.
yeah, I definitely think it's both. I think it's sort of like knowing that whatever you do is going to be filmed, kind of like, if you're in the public eye and you're like
Yeah,
running around an event space, like there's going to be cameras in your face. And I think maybe before there wasn't that much consideration of like, oh, this is just going to be on the internet immediately,
yeah,
on TikTok or something, like, or so there's probably that. And then yeah, I just think generally like people they just got more professional, and I don't think that's because of the Olympic. Like it was before that, it was kind of people
yeah,
kind of they thought like it just became just like looking at Kelly, and I go, well, if they want to be at that level at that age, sort of look at what, I mean, I know is a bit of an anomaly, right? But kind of like looking at what he's done, and then going, okay, well, yeah, maybe we don't hit it so hard and we don't party as much,
yeah.
and yeah, we have a nutritionist, we have like coaches, and we stretch more, and yeah, we just sort of take care of ourselves a bit more.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I think like it's a really like interesting point on it because, for example, like use Kelly for it as an example, but because of social media, you could now have access to see how Kelly or John or whatever, like, what they do in their day to prepare and how much they train and what they eat and what they're doing. So for someone, say for example, there's a 16-year-old Grom who's like coming out of school and wants like they've got potential, they actually can see now what the level is on dedication. Um, for example, in surfing, and like I know in across other sports, it's the same. Whereas like say 20 years ago, or before like the social media and that world took over, if you were a really good surfer in Nuki, your best examples were the next best surfer in Nuki, but that person might not be like world level. So what you was looking up to was, oh, that guy goes out and has a couple of pints every Friday. Like that, if he does that, that's going to be okay. I can do
It's
that
okay. Yeah.
kind of thing. Whereas like now, like it feels like if you're out on a Friday and you wake up late on a Saturday morning, the other junior in Australia who's on the same level as you puts up a clip 6 a.m. Here's my barrel. It's like, what? Oh, like here's I'm going for a Dorney. You're one step behind that person, so it kind of creates a wider competitive net as well around you can compare yourself and compete with other people across the planet, let alone like
Yeah.
just your local guy as well, which is cool. So with like your new gig then, Uncharted
Mhm.
Territory. So what's the kind of what's the reason and what's the kind of drive behind that?
So yeah, so I've founded it with a guy called Ben Dando,
Yeah,
and he was managing director for international at Liquid Death, and he's been in, I guess, the drinks industry and in that world for about 20 years. He was sort of thinking that, we'd always get asked, same when we were at Liquid Death, is like, okay, well, how are you doing this? How are you kind of getting the product out there and sort of building brands? So the idea was that, we when that all kind of came to a close, with Liquid Death not being in the UK anymore, we thought, okay, like there's a gap for something where we can do similar things for other brands and
Yeah.
other kind of like mainly around like lifestyle brands and whether that's US companies that want to then come over to the UK and Europe and like help them expand here, or like the reversal and kind of taking European brands over to the US or to Australia or UAE. And yeah, I guess like overall these like different jobs and different experiences, I've built up a bit of a network, and it was mainly like, okay, like the black book can then, and with both of us can kind of because we've sort of been through it a few times, we can then, plug brands into different opportunities, different partnerships a bit faster.
Yeah.
Whether that's kind of like going into like entertainment or going into sports or these fields and industries that we've got familiar experience with.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess in a hopeful way, like people are gonna align you and Ben with Liquid Death, which is obviously on a marketing level and I mean on a sales level as well, but on a marketing level and on a brand level was a
Mhm.
very, very good success story. Um, do you have like certain people, or do you have a fear, maybe it's not happened yet, that you're gonna have someone rock up and be like, I want you to do that with this. Do you know what I mean? Like, and just
There's a
expect
lot
it.
of, I mean, we're not claiming that we're like the ideas
No,
guys,
yeah,
so I never like my role there was to basically get the product in the right hands. So it was sort of like what we're doing with the agency with Uncharted Territory is like international expansion, lifestyle marketing, partnerships, strategy, advice, the whole like the content strategy we can help with, but the actual like creation, like a lot of times it's like, oh, if you're the guys behind Liquid Death, like just whip out a few or like viral videos for us,
yeah,
could you?
yeah, yeah,
It's like there's a bit of that, like, or if you like, we can certainly help with different ideas, but it's also like it's basically like looking at whatever the brand or the product or service is, and then what communities
exactly.
are,
Yeah,
are are around that, and like identifying that first and the audiences, and then tapping into that and kind of
yeah,
doing it credibly. Like I'll put my hand up and go, like if it's something I know, not like gaming or something where I've got like maybe we've got contacts there, but I don't game. So I'll go, look, I don't really know this world that well.
yeah, yeah,
Um, Sports may be like on the other side, but yeah, certain things we're just like there's no point. Otherwise, you just get caught out.
yeah, absolutely. And essentially, you're the guys in a very short way. You're the guys basically building the strategy or designing the strategy of what that company should be then doing for them to and essentially guiding them and saying, look, this is the road that we would take you down. These are the communities that we think you need to attack. Like this is your kind of avenue to how you need to be. Like, for example, you wouldn't say to Liquid Death, all right, you should also try and get your water into some wellness retreats. Like, it's not gonna.
Well, yeah, I mean, we were kind of like with them, it was like almost like a juxtaposition because they got to such a big stage, or there's such a like big awareness with their social when it was like almost close to like 10 million followers.
Yeah,
But at the beginning with that, it was like, okay, well, let's replicate what worked initially in the US. So it was like skating was huge in the UK for them. Like the alternative rock metal scene, like say gigs, festivals. It was kind of like dive bars, all that kind of world
yeah,
that they started off with. But then it was like, I don't know, like I grew up in Wimbledon and I was like, look, I think we can get it in some players' hands for the tennis.
yeah,
That would be pretty funny if we can. And, like we're like sending stuff to like Curious or, like all like a bunch of the other players to where they were all staying. And because it's sort of so it shouldn't fit, it kind of then just makes it funnier.
yeah,
Because their whole play was comedy. But then with like looking at other brands, it's like it's really just thinking like, yeah, like who do they like? what is it that they're trying to like get into, and
Yeah,
then what markets, what like potentially like where is like a hyper focus of that, and that like, is it in New York, is it London, or is it somewhere like outside of like the cities, and then kind of like
yeah,
drilling down on that.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, I guess my point being is that, say for example, like Liquid Death, it felt like the driver of it all, in a way, was disruptive nature. Like, so even
Yeah,
right, yeah, let's get it into Wimbledon because it doesn't fit, and then it fits into a disruptive world straight away. So that's where it naturally should be, and then
yeah,
okay, where can we get it that it shouldn't be? That's actually then really funny because it's disruptive, and for example, Kyrgios is the perfect example for that, right? Because he is the disruptive nature inside tennis as well. So
yeah,
kind of
exactly.
fits, which is funny. Um, yeah. So obviously, this is really cool. Like, this is the stuff I love. A lot of our fans and listeners love surfing. So I wanted to chat to you a little bit about like surfing and first and foremost, like kind of like what boards you ride in. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, what you on?
Yeah, so I live over in Portugal. I've been here for about 6 years, and I'm just outside Lisbon, a town called Cascais.
Yeah,
So I'm kind of close to, I guess, sort of local beaches are like Carcavelos,
yeah,
which is kind of sort of a punchy beach break in the winter. It goes completely quiet like around this sort of time of year. So I'm on like, yeah, I've got a few different boards. I bought a hip to crypto in Oz, which I love. So it's like a five six. I was living in Sydney, so it was kind of like everyone was probably like riding them at one point. And then
why
I'm
does
on like
everyone who has a hip tone now says it through like head down, yeah, I've got a hip toe.
yeah, I know, I know. It's just one of those. It's sort of like, and it's
Such a
like it's
great
yellow,
board.
but it's still super fun. So yeah, that almost like when it's like a bit grovelly. And then I've got a few like JS's, like a
Yeah,
510, a 511. Um, Mates with one of the guys here, Vasco. So when he rides for a local Portuguese shaper called Semente, who's an
yeah,
American guy, Nick. So yeah, you want to kind of see him posting boards on the sly. I might pick up one of those, and yeah, they're just sort of like cautious is up just around the corner, and a few sort of other spots like around in Ericeira and stuff. So that's about 40 minutes away.
yeah,
So we've got some pretty fun like points, and um, yeah, I mean it's like I don't want to move. I think it's sort of like in terms of like the different like varieties and options you have up here, it's pretty good.
yeah, it's perfect, isn't it? Yeah, I know like Jonathan Weaver, good friend of the show, and you probably know Jonathan.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like he's obviously just up the road from well, in near Ericeira, isn't he? And he's just
Hmm.
yeah, the amount of waves that him and Bram get is unreal, really. And yeah, when I was in Portugal, I came to Portugal. I've been a couple of times now, but when I came, it was a couple of years ago now. We were actually down by Xavier and stuff, and the cemented boards are everywhere. Like he's doing well in Portugal. Like you don't see him in England, like or barely see him
Yeah.
in England, barely see him in France, but everywhere in Portugal, which is really cool. Like and kind of the way it should be if he's shaping them there as well. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. He came over in the 80s, and he's kind of like, yeah, like one of the OG shapers here.
yeah,
So like Nick, he was like originally from California, and then yeah, moved to Ericeira. Spent a bit of time in like Costa Cabrica shaping on the other side of Lisbon there.
yeah,
But yeah, he's kind of got like, I think he like used to have like Nick von Romp on his team, and like
mm,
obviously like Vasco Ribeiro and stuff. And yeah, like a lot of the Groms are riding his boards, and yeah, the level is just yeah, like it just seems to be getting better and better and better, like
yeah,
every year. And they're charging, and you kind of see them like in the winter, and in Cocavelos, or yeah, like a few of the other slab spots around here, and yeah, it's pretty good.
yeah. Sick. Have you got any like trips planned, or is like Portugal pretty much fulfilling your?
We did like I did a boat trip, like a Maldives boat trip last year, to the like north and central atolls with a few
Okay, yeah.
mates from the UK and from Ireland, and yeah, we've got that locked in. We're going to go to the South Atolls of the Maldives next March
Okay,
is
sick.
when we're gonna go. So yeah, quite far away. I'd love to get a like a trip over to Morocco again if I can sneak off over there.
Yeah,
I did a road trip there about two Christmases ago, and that was yeah, that was pretty fun. You can sort of just yeah drive to the bottom of Spain and then get the ferry over
yeah,
from us. Yeah.
yeah. It's easier for you, isn't it? Because you're not having to like. For me, it's a flight with boards and stuff, and then a hire car and all of that hassle. Whereas
Okay.
a lot easier for you. What is it, like a 4 hour drive maybe to the ferry or?
No, it's a bit further. So it's like maybe like seven or something
Oh, okay.
to the
Yeah.
ferry. But yeah, I went to like, I mean, even sort of like, I haven't driven as far as Tagazout, but around like Safi area and stuff is just,
Mm.
yeah, it's insane.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I've got a good friend Callum who tells me about Safi every single time I see him. Just it
You
looks
just
like
like shut up. I don't want to hear about it.
no, to be fair, it's not. No, it looks like an incredible wave, and it my only kind of real like dealings with it is watching video of it and stuff. And every time I watch a video of it, it looks really nasty. Like I've seen the what it done to Billy Kemper and
Yeah.
some other clips. I watched one literally a couple of days ago where it was it's the
Was that the monster one?
no, it was the Red Bull
That
No
video.
Contest with Ashton Goggins.
Okay.
Really, really good actually. And they rock up to Safi and it's Marco Mignot and that Goni Zubarella guy and a couple of others. And it's just pumping and massive. And you're like, it looks perfect. It looks amazing, but it also looks like it would just chew you up. But that's all.
Yeah, I think I got it there when it wasn't like it was running all the way and it was maybe yeah, it was like overhead, but it wasn't like psycho.
Yeah.
So I think it
Yeah.
was just like one of those lucky, and then no one was no one was out. It was just like, okay, maybe it's not then it's not a swell or it's not like cool to swell, and then as soon as they kind of cool it, everyone flies in from France and they all
Yeah.
like fly like Spain like everywhere, and then it just kind of just gets packed out. I think word gets out and then
Yeah.
it's on.
Yeah. You kind of
Um,
it's bad day is probably perfect for like most people.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
which is really cool. Yeah, Morocco trips are always a great idea. For sure. I mean, that's the beauty of living somewhere where you live though as well, isn't it? That you don't actually have to. Like we spoke to Noah Lane, like, and we asked him about some trips, and he was like he lives in Ireland, and he was like, don't really need to go anywhere at the moment. I was just like, that's such a great place to be in life. Is like, right, he wants world-class waves, and they're actually where he lives.
Yeah. I think it's always like. I mean, it sounds cheesy, but it's more than like yeah, it's kind of like that different experience. Like we go to Morocco, it's like it's the food, it's the whole kind of culture
Yeah,
and everything kind of about it, right? That's just so different to home.
yeah.
Um, yeah,
I think
and I
that goes
think that's
both
sort of
ways.
like
I kind of think it goes both ways though, because like for example, this year I've done my first ever Indo trip, and I absolutely loved it. Loved everything about it, but because it was so intense and so different and stuff, it kind of took a little bit away from the fact that you're surfing in like pretty world class waves and powerful waves and stuff, and then you're also somewhere where you're not very close to world class hospitals or like, and then
where did you go?
I went to Krui,
Okay,
so yeah, South Sumatra, gnarly, real good fun.
was it good? Did you get it like
Oh, it's so good. Like Mandiri Beach is the most like it's a ferocious beach break, and pretty hard to surf for someone like myself. Like I went out with a crew that were quite good, like Harry Timpson and his brother and stuff. They're really good, they surfed it really well. And then yeah, I surfed. Funnily enough, the event's on, and I was watching it, thinking I've surfed that like 2 months ago, but like I pretty much surfed crewy left most of the time, like the reef.
Hmm.
It was really good, like incredible place. My friend, a close friend of mine's built a villa out there. He lives out there now, so
Nice.
fortunately got out there to go and see him. Managed to wangle 2 weeks off of dog duty with the missus looking after the dog. So um, was really really good. But it was also like so every single part of the trip was stimulating. Like you're hoping your food doesn't give you a bad belly. You're hoping the water doesn't give you a bad belly. You're hoping mosquitoes don't eat you. You're like hoping you don't kill
Just
yourself.
everything's intense, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and like that on top of how far you have to travel is sometimes like like it's pumping here tomorrow and Friday. And I'm like so happy that it's literally going to take me 15 minutes to get to the beach, changing in the water rather than. But at the same time, I absolutely loved being in Bali. So
Yeah. And was
yeah.
Bali, was it pretty crowded when you were there, or
Well, I say Bali, it was
depending on what?
Indonesia.
Okay, yeah.
No, Krui was empty. Yeah.
Nice.
Um, because they don't have really a direct flight and it's pretty heavy to get to and stuff. And we slightly went out of season. We went last 2 weeks of March. So
Okay.
it still wasn't quite in season, but it was still pumping. But it
Nice.
wasn't that busy. Yeah. But a few of the crew that we were there with had come over from Bali. They'd been in Bali for a few months, and they were saying that it's just like Kuta and Padang Padang and stuff is just like crazy busy.
Yeah. I haven't been for years. Like I've been like a bunch of times there, and then the last time I went was on our honeymoon. Um, yeah, and then that was like kind of, yeah, we're going back like 10 years.
Yeah,
And just staying in Uluwatu like there, and yeah, just trying to go out as early as possible, but it was still rammed, and then let forget about Bingin, like that would
yeah.
be, it's like 200 people out or something. It's nuts.
Your trip next year, is that a boat trip or is that land?
It's boat trip.
Oh, sick.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So there's like eight of us going.
yeah.
Um and it was sort of, yeah, we did a boat trip with the same crew to the Mentawais, maybe was it about 15 years ago.
Right,
And
yeah.
then
Oh,
that was sort
nice.
of like the first one that we did, and then yeah, this will be like the third boat trip that we're doing over there to the Maldives. And then
Yeah,
just kind of, I think you like fly into Male, to the capital, and then get like a little internal flight, and then go down to the south.
yeah.
And I think it's like just to that time where the wind's supposed to be, well, yeah. I mean, fingers crossed, you can always just
Yeah,
get
yeah.
skunked any time of year, right? But
I'm
you
sure
never
you'll
know.
be sweet.
So
Yeah,
hopefully we get it okay.
yeah, yeah. I'm sure. There's like plenty of waves out there, aren't there? Like, and if you get a
Yeah,
good
yeah,
boat and a good captain, you'll find your waves for sure.
yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, sick. Well, like the chat's been amazing, and I'm really excited
Thanks,
to see
Matt.
where Uncharted Territory goes. I've seen today that you've announced Drip, which is funny enough a water company, but that'll be sick and that'll be cool. And yeah, keep us in touch with your trip and everything else. And I'm great to have you back on as well.
Thanks, man.
No,
Yeah, thanks,
no
thanks for
problem.
having me on, and yeah, it's been good to chat. It's been fun.
Yeah. Lastly, because we've got a minute left, have you been watching much of the Trestles event?
Only like, yeah, like highlights and stuff like that.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
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 Who's your money on? Who do you reckon?
Oh, Griff. My picks before the event were Griffin or Kanoa. Um, Italo looked pretty good yesterday.
Yeah.
So he could go really good, which he looked pretty scary. So, but it's on right now. So
Just fired up, isn't he? Like
he's just like,
the
yeah,
whole time.
the guy is just unbelievable. His make rate is just crazy, like just crazy. He just
Yeah.
lands every area that he goes for, which I don't like his style, and it pains me to say it. Like it's quite known on the insiders that I'm not the biggest fan of Italo's style at all,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I could easily see him winning it. So,
Yeah.
but
I'll
well,
see.
Sig, I'm gonna go watch that. I'll let you crack on, and yeah, we'll be in touch. But thanks so much for your time again.
Thanks, man.